Rust Creek Massacre, Chapter 1. The Road into Silence. The road that led into Rust Creek wasn't on most maps. It twisted through a stretch of forgotten woodland, where the trees pressed so close together that even the sun seemed frightened to enter. Most travelers avoided this part of northern Texas. Those who didn't often became the reason others learned to. On a late October evening, Evan Mercer drove alone, his old pickup rattling as if the bolts were losing their will to hold themselves together. His phone's GPS had frozen 20 miles back, then died entirely. With no signal, no noise except the steady hum of the engine, and no towns marked for hours, Evan's world had shrunk to the cone of his headlights cutting into the growing dark. He wasn't supposed to be here. He knew that much. His assignment was simple: photograph abandoned rural structures for a magazine's Forgotten America series. Rust Creek, if it even existed, was a rumor mentioned by a gas station clerk who smiled too wide and talked too fast. "You want creepy old places? Try the road past Miller's Hollow," he had said. "Just don't stay after dark." Evan had laughed then. He wasn't laughing now. The last smear of daylight faded behind the tree line as fog crept low across the cracked asphalt. His headlights flickered, just once, as if winking, and when they steadied, something glinted on the right side of the road. A metal sign, tilted, half-eaten by rust. He slowed the truck. Rust Creek, 3 miles population. The number had been scratched off. Evan leaned closer to the cracked windshield. "Great," he muttered. "Exactly the kind of place the editor wants." He took a picture with his camera out of habit. The flash bounced off the metal, revealing long scratch marks across the letters, as if someone had carved them with impatient violence. Before he could wonder who had done that, a shape darted across the road. Evan slammed the brakes. The truck skidded on the slick asphalt, fishtailing before coming to a shaky stop. His heart hammered so hard it felt like it was trying to escape his chest. What the hell? He scanned the darkness. Nothing, only fog weaving between the trees like pale fingers. It must have been an animal, a deer, maybe a coyote. That's what he told himself, but the silhouette, thin, fast, wrong, didn't match any animal he knew. He rolled the truck forward slowly. When he reached the spot where the figure had crossed, he noticed something beside the road. A sneaker, torn, mud-caked, the laces shredded. Evan swallowed. Nope, not dealing with that tonight. Yet he photographed it anyway. Old habits died hard. He drove on. The forest thickened, the trees bending inward, their branches hooking over the road like ribs closing around a throat. The air felt heavier, wetter. The scent of metal, like old blood, crept through his vents. After another mile, the first building appeared out of the dark. An abandoned gas station, windows shattered, pumps slumped like broken teeth. The place looked as though it had been deserted for decades, but the pavement was strangely clean, too clean, as if someone came often, as if someone tended the place without wanting it to look tended. Evan stopped again, took more photos. The click of the shutter echoed unnaturally loud. As he lowered the camera, he felt it. A shift in the air. The sense of being watched. He turned. At first he saw only the forest. Then he realized one of the trees wasn't a tree. A tall figure stood between two trunks, motionless, too tall to be natural, its outline barely visible in the drifting fog. Evan blinked, once, twice, and the figure stepped backward, melting into the dark. Gone. Evan's skin prickled with cold. "This is insane," he whispered. "I'm seeing things." He got back into the truck quickly, locking the doors without meaning to. His breath fogged the windshield as he tried to calm himself. He waited, counted, then drove on. The town emerged suddenly, as if the fog parted just long enough to reveal it. Rust Creek. A cluster of rotting houses leaning into one another. A diner with flickering neon, though no electricity should have reached this far. A school with boarded windows, the swings gently swaying, though no wind moved. And at the far end of the single street, the slaughterhouse. It towered over the town, a massive structure of corrugated iron, rusted beams, and shattered skylights. Chains hung from the ceiling inside, visible through the gaps. Some swayed ever so slightly, as though something had just moved them. Evan parked outside what used to be the general store. The door hung open, creaking softly. He grabbed his flashlight and camera. He told himself he wouldn't be long. Just enough pictures to prove he was here. The air outside was colder than it had any right to be. He walked down the deserted street, boots crunching on gravel. His flashlight beam cut across peeling paint, broken windows, and an old newspaper lying on the ground, its headline half-readable, "Rust Creek, missing 12. The rest was smeared. Evan crouched to pick it up, but a sound stopped him. Footsteps, slow, heavy, behind him. He froze. The steps stopped too. His breath hitched. He forced himself to turn around. No one. The street was empty. The fog thickened again, curling around his legs. "Get it together," Evan murmured. "Take the photos and go." He headed toward the slaughterhouse, because of course that was where the best shots would be. The magazine loved decaying industrial spaces, and this one was a masterpiece of dread. The closer he came, the stronger the metallic smell grew. Rust, old machinery. Something else he didn't want to name. The main door was ajar. Something had ripped it off its hinges years ago. Evan pushed it gently. It groaned like something dying. Inside, darkness swallowed his flashlight beam. Dust swirled in the cold air. The walls were lined with hooks, empty but stained. The concrete floor was cracked, water pooling in places like black mirrors. A single overhead lamp buzzed faintly, swinging even though the air was still. He raised his camera. Flash. For a second the room lit up. In the corner, a figure stood. A man, tall, broad, face obscured by shadow or maybe something covering it. Evan stumbled backward, banging into a table. His flashlight slipped from his hand, rolling across the floor. He snatched it, heart crashing in his chest. He shined the light back toward the corner. Empty. "No," he whispered. "No, I saw someone." He had the photograph. He knew he did. He checked the camera screen, hands shaking. The image showed the corner. But the figure was blurred, as if the camera refused to focus on it. As if the lens itself didn't want to see. A clang echoed from deeper inside the slaughterhouse, metal striking metal. Evan nearly dropped the camera. "Hello?" he called, hating how small his voice sounded. I'm just taking pictures. If someone's here, I'll leave." Silence, then clang, closer. Evan backed toward the exit, but something moved behind him, slow, deliberate. He spun around. Nothing, just empty space. He was shaking now. Every instinct told him to run, to leave the camera, the assignment, the whole state behind and get out. Then the voice came, a low whisper right behind his ear. "Don't leave yet." Evan screamed and bolted for the door, stumbling into the street. He didn't look back. He didn't care if he dropped anything. He ran to his truck, breath tearing from his lungs. He yanked the door open and stopped dead. The passenger seat wasn't empty. Someone sat there, tall, shoulders too wide, head tilted unnaturally, a mask covering the face. Not a clean mask, a mask made of stitched leather. Animal hide twisted into human shapes. Its eyes, if it had any, were dark pits that didn't reflect the light. Evan staggered back, slipping on gravel. The figure didn't move, didn't breathe. It simply watched him. Or waited. His legs trembled so badly he almost fell again. He turned and ran. Away from the truck, away from the town, into the forest, because there was nowhere else to go. Branches whipped at his face, roots grabbed his boots. The night pressed against his lungs. Behind him, footsteps, heavy, steady, not rushing, because it didn't need to rush. It knew he would tire, knew he would slow. Evan didn't know how long he ran, minutes, hours. The forest twisted endlessly, every direction looked the same. Every turn led deeper into the maze. He tripped over a log and hit the ground hard. Pain shot up his leg. He pushed himself onto his elbows, gasping. The footsteps stopped. The forest fell silent. Evan looked up, and there it was, standing between the trees, closer than ever. Mask tilted, hands hanging at its sides, one holding something long and rusted. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. Evan tried to crawl backward, fingers clawing at the dirt. The figure stepped forward once, twice. Then the forest lights changed. A spotlight beam hit them. Blinding, bright, artificial. An engine roared. A truck, an old sheriff's truck, burst through the trees, skidding to a stop between Evan and the figure. A voice shouted, "Get in now!" Evan didn't hesitate. He crawled to the truck, the sheriff grabbing him by the collar and hauling him inside. The truck sped off, sending mud flying. Evan looked out the back window. The masked figure stood calm and unmoving as the truck vanished into the darkness. The sheriff slammed the locks and kept driving. After what felt like miles, he finally spoke. "You shouldn't be here, son." Evan swallowed, voice barely working. What was that thing? Who was that?" The sheriff kept his eyes on the road. "That," he said quietly. "That wasn't a who." A pause, a long, heavy pause. "That was the reason Rust Creek isn't on any map anymore."